The story begins in an arts college building. Inside the office, an employee excitedly called out to Sabrina, asking if she had a date that day. Sabrina, feeling flustered, asked if it was really that obvious and admitted it was embarrassing. Her colleague complimented her and asked how long she had been dating. She explained they had been together for 3 years, but since both were busy, it had been a while since they last saw each other. The colleague thought it was adorable and commented that even after 3 years, she still felt healed just thinking about her boyfriend. Sabrina confirmed this, saying she felt guilty for having canceled so many dates before. Her friend recalled seeing the professor make her cancel plans several times and hoped he wouldn't call today. However, at that exact moment, Sabrina's phone rang. It was the professor. She answered the call but felt a bad premonition. The professor said something and Sabrina, discouraged, simply replied that she understood. With a dejected expression, she repeated that she did. Sabrina hung up the phone after thanking the professor for his understanding, but she was visibly frustrated, thinking to herself about how unbearable the professor was. Yuna, her friend and fellow grad student, made a joke about her tired expression, saying she should get used to being practically the professor's slave. She reminded her that Sabrina had already canceled her plans several times because of him. Sabrina said her boyfriend was an angel, but her friend mocked her, imitating her in a teasing way. She commented that it was impressive how she had been faking innocence for 3 years, and questioned how her boyfriend still hadn't noticed her true personality. Yuna then provoked her by asking how a platonic relationship could last so long at that age, and how they could date for 3 years without having gone to bed. Sabrina looked furiously at her friend, saying they were both busy, he with a promotion and important projects, but as soon as that phase ended, they would get married. Her friend reacted with shock, asking if she was serious about marriage, and if Sabrina's boyfriend would support her plans to be a professor. The protagonist responded with pride that he would, that he was an angel and supported her in everything. Her friend commented, impressed, that the two seemed like soulmates. Her boyfriend supported her doctorate and never pressured her to go to bed, saying that it was only possible with true love. Amazed, Sabrina suggested that Yuna should date her brother, but her friend replied that she thought that was nonsense. Yuna bluntly said she had no interest in Sabrina's brother, pointing to another young man in the distance and stating she would only consider someone like him. When Sabrina noticed her friend was talking about Derek, she made a face upon learning she was interested in someone like that. Yuna commented that lately Derek was always surrounded by girls, questioning if he was dating any of them. Sabrina questioned if her friend wasn't a bit too interested in Derek. She explained that guys like that were good in bed, but Sabrina felt bothered and asked her not to talk that way. Yuna joked that she was just embarrassed. Meanwhile, Sabrina observed Derek from a distance, admitting he was handsome and had a great physique, but wondered how someone with that delinquent look had gotten into the university. Sabrina said it was probably because of his family's money, since they were very rich. Yuna found it strange that she knew that, but Sabrina replied it was obvious. She then teased Sabrina, saying she was faking disinterest but was actually curious deep down. Sabrina got irritated and showed it in her expression, frightening her friend, who asked her not to look at her like that. Sabrina pretended not to understand her friend's teasing about her expression, saying she wasn't making a strange face, but her friend insisted she looked like a snake. Shortly after, the protagonist noticed the time and said a hurried goodbye, leaving while Derek watched her from afar. Later, the professor called Sabrina, informing her that he was canceling the meeting and going home. She responded politely and wished him a safe trip back. As soon as she hung up, she celebrated with relief that she finally had free time to see her boyfriend. Excited, she typed a message saying she would have time that day and thought about showing up as a surprise, imagining his reaction upon seeing her. Sabrina went to her boyfriend's apartment carrying chicken, but upon opening the door, she was shocked by what she saw. A woman wrapped only in a towel answered, thinking she was a food delivery person. Immediately after, Sabrina's boyfriend, also wrapped in a towel, appeared asking if the woman had ordered chicken. When Sabrina's boyfriend realized she was at the door, he screamed in fear, letting his towel fall to the floor. He tried to explain that it wasn't what it looked like, while the woman he was with questioned who that woman at the door was. Sabrina, unable to believe what she was seeing, realized the reality of the betrayal. Later, she was alone in front of a convenience store, drinking to drown the pain. No matter how much she thought about it, she couldn't understand. He had always been affectionate, and they seemed to live happily together. They had even made a promise to marry. However, she wondered if he had traded her for another just because she refused to have relations before marriage. She remembered his words when he said he understood her conservative side and that he also wanted to protect her until matrimony. Drunk and hurt, she vented to herself, criticizing the fact that she had pretended to be modest for 3 years while he cheated. She asked if he liked it, so much that he had to find another woman, and shouted that she would do the same, that she would also be with another man. It was at that moment that Derek found her, slumped over a table with several empty soju bottles. Seeing her in that state, he asked what she was doing there. Sabrina, completely out of it, murmured that she also wanted to do it. In the midst of her delirium, she invited him to do it right there. Derek refused, saying he wouldn't do anything with someone who was drunk, and said it was better for her to go home. Later, when she finally regained part of her consciousness and realized who was beside her, she was startled and questioned aloud if it was really him. Total confusion took hold of her, and she didn't know how she had ended up in that situation. In the next instant, realizing they were lying together without clothes, she screamed furiously, calling him a bastard. Sabrina, shocked, indignantly asked how he dared touch her too. The young man sighed, questioning if she didn't remember what had happened the night before. He told her she was completely intoxicated, screaming in the street, asking him to sleep with her, complaining that he didn't want to, and she even vomited all over his clothes. Embarrassed, Sabrina now understood why they were without clothes, but she had been too drunk to remember what happened. Suddenly, Derek approached, making her nervous, and mentioned that she had said she was curious about it, asking if she didn't want to try a little. She reacted immediately, pushing him and shouting for him to stop, saying she didn't want to and couldn't do that. He asked what the problem was, and she replied there were many reasons, adding that if she did it with him, she would probably catch a disease, which she found repulsive. He was indignant at the statement, but soon said he didn't plan to go that far, explaining he only wanted to tease her for vomiting on him. He said it was time to sleep, stating she had drained all his energy and he also needed to rest. Lying beside him, Sabrina reflected on the situation. She thought about the fact that her boyfriend cheated, how she had begged her childhood friend, whom she had ignored for years, to sleep with her, and now she was lying there beside him. Finally, she decided to forget what had happened. She recognized that, in the end, this was DK, someone she had pretended not to know for over 10 years. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the window. Sabrina woke up with a headache and sat up in bed, trying to remember what had happened. Confused, she questioned if he had already left. Soon after, her memories suddenly returned, making her scream in shame as she remembered the previous night. She thought of Derek, her childhood friend, who knew all her most embarrassing moments. During puberty, the two realized how different they were and drifted apart. She judged him as a delinquent, and he started ignoring her as well. So they ended up stuck in a strange and uncomfortable situation, not knowing how to deal with one another. The girl lamented showing a shameful side to him and wondered how she would face him from then on. Noticing a bottle on the table, she approached and saw a note saying to go home discreetly. While processing her thoughts, she received an unexpected message from her boyfriend. At another moment, Sabrina stood before her boyfriend, who was trying to justify himself. He said it had been a mistake and that the other woman was just a subordinate who had temporarily stayed at his house. He promised he wouldn't go near her again and claimed Sabrina was the only one for him. Sabrina, serious, asked him to be completely honest, revealing she knew it hadn't been just one night. She stated it didn't matter anymore and decided to end the relationship, saying she couldn't stay with a man who was with another woman. The young man, embarrassed, tried to justify himself, reminding her they had been together for 3 years and that he respected her wish to wait until marriage, but that he couldn't take it. Sabrina, irritated, hit back, asking if he cheated just because she didn't want to sleep with him. He tried to deny it but ended up speechless. Then, he said that wouldn't have happened if she had slept with him at least once. She, surprised and indignant, asked if he was placing the blame on her. Moments later, after ending the relationship, Sabrina went to a bar to drown her sorrows. While mixing drinks excessively, she thought about her ex-boyfriend's betrayal and how he tried to justify his actions. Overcome by anger, she began drinking to try and forget the situation, saying he was nothing like an angel, more like Satan. While reflecting on how she didn't understand the obsession with doing it, a man approached and asked if she was alone, offering to keep her company. However, Derek appeared and told the stranger to go away, telling him to stop bothering his friend. Derek sat down in front of her, and Sabrina asked why he was interfering. He replied that he just wanted to help her as a friend, but she shot back, asking who he thought he was to act like that. Then, Derek gave her a light tap on the forehead with a spoon and scolded her, saying that forgetting a broken heart with another man might work, but getting involved with just anyone was risky. He commented on rumors involving another guy, saying he had already been involved with several freshmen and was famous for it in his department, even if she didn't know. Derek continued, stating he didn't want to get into her fight with her ex-boyfriend, but he didn't like seeing his friend giving herself to just anyone. She got angry and shouted, saying she hadn't even managed to say hello to the guy. She complained about the vulgar way he spoke and wondered why he always appeared when she was drunk, finding the situation embarrassing. He replied that he only described exactly what she was doing. Then, he offered a drink and asked her to drink and go home peacefully. Sabrina, irritated, thought he treated her like an immature child and revolted internally. While reflecting, she questioned why he could do whatever he wanted and she couldn't. She decided that if she were to act that way, she could be with anyone she wanted, but concluded it would be better to avoid the worst ones. In the end, she thought that maybe Derek was the best option for something casual, since she had known him since childhood. Making an impulsive decision, she took the drink and downed it all at once. The young woman stared at Derek and, bluntly, invited him to have relations with her. He was surprised by the sudden proposal. Derek reminded her that she herself had said before that she didn't want to because she thought he looked like he had a communicable disease. She responded casually and asked if he didn't have a test to prove otherwise. Derek pulled a paper from his pocket and showed the test result, explaining he was so shocked by that rejection that he ended up taking the exam. He teased, asking if she intended to go back on what she said. Smiling confidently, he warned her not to regret it. Sabrina stepped closer and hit back, asking when he had ever seen her regret anything. The next morning, Sabrina woke up feeling back pain, murmuring softly if the act she experienced the night before always resulted in side effects of that type. While trying to pull herself together, she reflected on what had happened, realizing that her first time had been with Derek and filling with shame, imagining what he might think of her after that. Wrapped in the blanket, she alternated between shame and the pleasurable memory of the moment, recognizing his skill but mentally complaining about his total lack of delicacy. Revolted for having woken up alone, she questioned if he had made it clear it was just a one-night stand. Even without experience, she knew that disappearing without saying anything was disrespectful. Sabrina vented to herself, still lying down as her back wouldn't let her get up. Meanwhile, a note was on the table, saying he had to leave early and asking her to let him know when she woke up. During the day, she dedicated herself to household chores, washed clothes, cleaned the house, and prepared lunch. After finishing these activities, she lay on the sofa to rest, reflecting on her feelings. While resting, she noticed she no longer thought about her ex-boyfriend and questioned if the search for intense stimuli was why people acted impulsively. She decided she shouldn't continue living impulsively and concluded that once was enough, comparing the experience to fast food, something fleeting. Her thoughts were interrupted by the ringing of the doorbell. Upon answering, she found Derek at the door, carrying bags with drinks and snacks. He entered without waiting for an invitation, saying he had brought those things to help her recover. Among the items were different types of alcoholic drinks and other products that made his intentions clear to her, which made her suspicious. During the conversation, Derek showed concern for her physical state, mentioning he had seen her holding her back and asking if he had been too rough the night before. Then he questioned if she was hungry and if she had eaten anything during the day, asking her to at least try a little. The girl, confused, wondered why he was so concerned about her. He smiled and asked if she wasn't in the mood and if he had shown up at a bad time. and she continued questioning his concern. When she faced him, he explained that he had come to take care of her and that, being friends with benefits, that was the minimum he could do. Surprise, she repeated the expression without really understanding. Then he explained that just because they had been together, it didn't mean he had to distance himself from her. She reflected that even though they had started talking and sleeping together recently, they hadn't spoken for years, despite being close in childhood. Sabrina questioned if they were really close enough to talk about that, and concluded that if they didn't even greet each other before, they were practically strangers. Surprised, he reacted in an exaggerated way, asking if she really meant that. She stated it was true, and he replied he was just stating the facts, reminding her that the one who drifted away was her, not him. Then, the young man suggested she drink some water and said he would go get it for her. The girl remained silent, blushing, finding it strange how natural he seemed inside her house, which gave her a strange feeling. Sabrina remembered that DK had appeared at her house once that year. It was when she arrived from college and found her mother and the young man. On that occasion, she asked her mother what she was doing there. Her mother, with a comprehensive tone, said it was strange for her daughter to react like that, explaining she was worried because her daughter lived alone and the world was dangerous, further asking if it wouldn't be better to call Derek once in a while. She replied she had already said she could manage on her own and asked her to stop with that. She thought to herself that he had only gone there once because of her parents' insistence and now acted as if he were very concerned. Shortly after, Derek handed her a glass of water and wanted to know what time she had left the hotel that morning. She replied around 11. The young man commented that she left late and asked why she hadn't let him know. She snapped back asking why she would need to notify him and added that he hadn't called her either. The young man asked why she was so irritated. She replied indignantly that it was he who left without saying anything. He seemed confused for a moment and then realized the situation. She confirmed she was upset and complained, saying he should have at least had the decency to let her know. She stated that even if they weren't complete strangers, it made her feel bad. While she thought about how much she cared, even without being his girlfriend, Derek smiled before explaining that she probably hadn't seen the note he had left. She was surprised and admitted that maybe she had seen it or not, remembering there was a note on the table. He said he had left the message, but she didn't hear and considered that unfair. He also explained he needed to go to his parents' house for an important reason and that he was worried about her. The girl was speechless at his sincerity. Then, he approached and apologized for leaving her alone. She, startled by the proximity, complained he was too close, pushing him away. She stared at him confused and asked if he was doing that on purpose. He replied without understanding and questioned what she was referring to. The girl gave up on explaining and said to forget it. While she thought about how much it bothered her, she felt as if she always ended up losing to him. The young man then asked why she kept avoiding him. She denied it immediately, not understanding what he meant. He brought his hand to her face, holding it delicately. Her heart raced, and silence took over the moment as they stared at each other closely. Without saying anything, he leaned in and kissed her softly. The next day, Sabrina appeared distracted, staring at nothing while holding a cup of coffee, remembering the kiss and the night at the hotel. Her friend commented that she had spent the day like that, lost in thought, and asked if everything was okay, mentioning it was already lunchtime, but it felt like she had just arrived at work. Yuna asked what was wrong with her and insisted she say something, thinking it had nothing to do with her advisor. Still in silence, Sabrina remained thoughtful. Then, she suddenly asked if her friend had ever done it before, leaving her confused by the unexpected question. Sabrina asked again, a bit embarrassed, if she had ever gone through something like that before, but her friend didn't quite understand and asked her to repeat. Sabrina gave up on explaining, and shortly after she leaned in and whispered in her friend's ear. Yuna was startled and screamed out loud, revealing to everyone what she said, while Sabrina desperately asked her to lower her voice. After knowing every detail, Yuna cursed Sabrina's ex-boyfriend, but Sabrina interrupted her friend, saying it was fine and she didn't need to talk like that. Her friend commented that she looked much better than expected and joked, suggesting that this might be thanks to the childhood friend she spent the night with. Sabrina, embarrassed, clarified they weren't dating, they just spent 2 days together and nothing more. Her friend joked, saying that at least the guy was handsome and was relieved to see she was enjoying life. But Yuna stated there is something important in casual relationships. The curious girl asked what that would be. She explained that in a casual relationship, the goal is just to enjoy the moment and have fun. As long as both agree on that, there will be no problems. The problem starts when one of them begins to want something more than just having fun. Sabrina questioned what she meant by something more. Her friend mentioned interest, showing feelings, and affection, things that shouldn't be expected in that type of relationship. The girl became thoughtful, reflecting on what her friend said. Sabrina stated she wouldn't make that kind of mistake, but Yuna warned that one never knows what can happen with people. She insisted on knowing if Sabrina was really going to listen to the advice she was giving. But in her thoughts, Sabrina feared ending up desiring affection from someone like Derek. While carrying some papers through the school hallway, Sabrina heard a voice calling for Derek and asking to go to his house. Realizing it was a girl, she stopped walking, surprised and confused. Unable to believe what she heard, she approached the door and saw Derek sitting with a pink-haired student. Shocked, the protagonist was paralyzed upon realizing it was indeed Derek. Her thoughts became confused, and she wondered what they were talking about. Remembering the rumors she had already heard about him, Sabrina hurried out through the hallway. In her mind, she questioned how he could act like that, trying to control her anger and embarrassment. She reflected on the rumors she had heard. Derek was known for being surrounded by many girls, yet she still felt cheated for having gotten involved with him. Overcome by rage, she stomped hard on the floor, causing a thud that startled the students nearby. In the administration room, the girl tried to work, but realized she couldn't concentrate. Letting out a sigh, she decided to finish what was left the next day and go home early. Suddenly, Derek entered the place, calling for her casually. Sabrina was surprised and asked what he was doing there. He replied that he had a meeting in Gangnam, and on the way passed by a bakery he knew she liked. He handed her a lemon cake, explaining he remembered her preference and made a point to buy it. Sabrina was surprised by the gesture and wondered why he would remember that detail. The two sat together to eat. She commented on the famous flavor of the cake and was impressed that he had specially reserved it for her. While tasting the sweet, she asked if he also liked lemon cake. He replied it wasn't he who liked the flavor, but she did. The young man stated it was she who liked lemon cake. She remained silent, staring for a moment. Then she replied that was a thing of the past, from middle school, explaining that now she had allergies and couldn't eat it properly anymore. Surprised, he commented that he brought the cake for nothing, since he had chosen the flavor on purpose, and it even took longer to prepare. Sabrina thought to herself that the bakery was an hour's drive away, and that he hadn't even told her about that. She wondered why he had specially reserved that flavor, remembering what she liked. He suggested they put the cake away so as not to hurt her, but she said it was fine and she could eat a small piece. While they ate in silence, Derek observed her thoughtfully and asked what she liked most now. Surprised, she just looked at him without knowing what to answer. Letting out a sigh, Sabrina questioned the reason for the question, and he just smiled, saying she was being grumpy. While eating, she noticed he still didn't like sweets, and wondered why he bought it if he wasn't even going to eat. Soon after, she realized he probably did it for her, but immediately tried to push the thought away, finding it an exaggeration to believe that. He took the opportunity to question Sabrina about why she wasn't answering messages. She explained she had been busy. Then she hit back with suspicion, saying he had many people to talk to and should have fun with them, but he stated in a serious tone that he only had her. Startled by the phrase, Sabrina asked him to stop doing that. When he asked what he was doing, she nervously explained she referred to that way of his. After saying that, she was left speechless, just staring, while he, not understanding, asked what he had done. In her thoughts, Sabrina concluded he was like a fox, opportunistic, shameless, and persistent. She didn't know if he did it on purpose or if it was just his way. Suddenly, the light in the room flickered again. She sighed, commenting that it always happened, and he asked if it was recurring. Irritated, he complained that even though the school received money from his family, nobody fixed something so simple. While looking at him, Sabrina thought about Derek, and if he really knew all the rumors circulating about him. She asked if he still dared to make jokes. He replied with indifference that everyone knew his family had money. Sabrina commented that Derek's father had said he preferred to donate the money rather than hand it over to him. Derek reflected that in the end, despite saying that, he would end up giving him money, just as he would with the company. He thought that even if his father didn't like him, his mind and skills were useful. And since there was no talent in the company, his father was forced to depend on him. She asked if it wasn't true that he had entered that school because of the money. He just looked at her with confusion. Then she continued saying she didn't understand much about architectural design, but in general it was still art, so she had some notion. She recalled he had won a prize in a complicated contest and asked if that wasn't why he got in, commenting that they said he had talent in that area. He shot back that he thought she didn't care about anything related to him. She replied there were many intermediaries, and even without wanting to know, information ended up reaching her. Sabrina concluded that his father must be proud of him. However, Derek said the man had aged quite a bit and thought it was already too late to force an adult son to follow another career path. Derek's father was a rigorous man. Thanks to that personality, he managed to greatly expand the company he managed, but he also applied severe physical punishments to his son. No one knew for sure what came first, the rebellion or the punishments, but at that point it didn't matter anymore. At that time, both Sabrina and Derek's father believed he was heading down the wrong path. She commented that when he was a child, she didn't always understand him. He responded with surprise and a light smile. Then she added that now she believed she understood him a bit more. Maybe Derek just wanted to be free. He asked if she was remembering the past alone and why she had become so sentimental suddenly. She replied she only said it because it came to mind and asked him to pretend he hadn't heard anything. He retorted saying he had already heard it, so he couldn't pretend, and thanked her for making him remember the past as well. He smiled lightly and murmured that he missed that. She blushed, her heart racing, and both slowly approached each other. Their gaze met, and without words, they leaned toward each other until they almost kissed. At that instant, a light bulb popped and went out, making them pull apart, surprised and embarrassed. He commented that they needed to change the bulb, as they couldn't continue like that, and she offered to get a new one. Later, he was already changing the bulb when he asked her to climb up to help him hold it, as he couldn't do it alone. She agreed and held on tight. While he warned that the wire was fragile and would fall if she let go, she complained he was being demanding, but guaranteed she was holding with strength. Suddenly, he noticed he had forgotten a tool and asked her to hold it alone for a moment. She, exhausted, asked him to do everything at once. He ran to get what was missing, certain that now he would have everything he needed. Meanwhile, Sabrina felt her arms getting tired when she noticed a sudden presence and was startled. While she held the bulb, she realized Derek was touching her legs. Startled, she called his name and asked what he was doing. He, unable to look away, asked if her pants had always been so provocative. Observing more closely, he said he could now understand people who had fetishes for that. She was flushed and surprised by his boldness, remembering they were at school. He replied that exactly that made it all more fun. With an insinuating tone, he stated that every time she came back to that place, she would remember him repeatedly. She, shocked and not knowing how to react, lost her balance with the unexpected situation. Derek caught her by the waist to help her, asking her to let go of the bulb and lean on him. However, Sabrina warned that if she let go, the bulb would fall and break, and that would be a problem. When she let go, she panicked, asking what to do now while he observed the scene calmly. Realizing she didn't need to have held the bulb, she got irritated and accused the young man of tricking her, starting to struggle in his arms. He asked her to stop, saying it was hurting. Irritated, Sabrina shouted for him to let her go now. He smiled and asked what she was trying to do. Both fell together onto the sofa and he hugged her, but Sabrina asked him to move away a bit, saying he was hugging too tight. However, Derek pulled her back, commenting that he didn't mind the contact, that the sofa was small, and they could stay like that anyway. While they remained close, the girl wondered why he was hugging her with such force. Her heart raced, and the situation left her confused. At that instant, memories of childhood came to mind. She recalled how when they were little they were always together, and hugging was something natural. However, now she realized the feeling was different. She noticed how much his arms had grown wide and felt she couldn't be completely at ease like before. Her heart beat fast, and she wondered the reason for this change. Sabrina, breaking the silence, commented that he shouldn't bring cake or similar things from now on. Derek was surprised and asked why. She commented it wasn't easy to get those things and that he was taking too much care of her. He replied that he brought it because he wanted to, so what would be the problem? Hearing this, Sabrina told herself it was impossible to talk to him. Changing the subject, the young man suggested that next time they could go to a barbecue or a Mac-style restaurant, stating that she liked those things. She was surprised by his suggestion, while Derek smiled, satisfied for having guessed something she really liked. Her heart raced hearing him speak with such naturalness. Sabrina realized how the situation was becoming dangerous for her feelings and thought she should stop him from acting that way. But she was no longer sure of what she felt. While they remained embraced, she reflected that that moment felt like that of a couple. While resting near him, the girl reflected on the young man's past and remembered the rumors about him, wondering if they were really true. Thinking the rumors might be true, Sabrina wondered if she would end up the same way and admitted she didn't want that for herself. She preferred not to get involved as a girlfriend so as not to be discarded. She thought it would be better to keep the relationship without labels if she wanted to continue being close to him without getting hurt. She decided then to stay quiet and accept the situation. She suggested they continue like that until they both found other people. He replied naturally, saying it was fine if that's what she wanted. Smiling, Derek commented that he thought she was going to say something serious, but suggested stopping the talking and just sleeping. The girl was relieved, happy that this meant they could continue seeing each other. In thought, she promised that next time it would be her making him feel embarrassed. He doubted it and told her to try. Determined, she stated she would win, smiling as she gradually fell asleep. While she slowly fell asleep, he observed her in silence, reflecting. Shortly after, he hugged her carefully and wished her good night. A few days later, Derek remained seated, his eyes fixed on his cell phone, when he was approached by a colleague who asked if he had started a new relationship, since he wouldn't stop staring at the device. Derek didn't answer. He just managed a slight smile, remaining in silence. At that moment, he remembered the intimate scene on the sofa with Sabrina, when she suggested they continue that way until they found other people. So he replied to his friend that it wasn't about a girlfriend, but just a casual relationship, nothing more than that. Meanwhile, Derek looked at the phone screen, waiting for a response from Sabrina, questioning himself if she really wasn't going to reply. Noticing an unexpected notification, he showed surprise, furrowing his brow and murmuring to himself. What was that? The colleague teased him again, asking if the supposed girlfriend had sent a message. Derek denied it immediately, saying she wasn't his girlfriend. After a brief pause, he corrected himself in a low voice, admitting not yet, but maybe one day. Derek had sent a message asking if Sabrina was free that day. She replied no, because she had things to do. Shortly after, he commented on the post-exhibition party, asking if it hadn't happened in Xi'an. Sabrina questioned how he knew about that. Although the message was seen, no response followed. Sabrina kept staring at her phone, mentally questioning why he didn't reply. She thought that maybe he was upset for being rejected so many times before due to her busy routine. Even so, she felt that day was truly important. At that moment, a formal dinner was taking place to celebrate Ada's exhibition. Sitting at the table, Sabrina reflected that, as a teaching assistant, she couldn't miss the professor's event. She added that she wanted to make a good impression, as there would be many new people, and it would also be good to see Derek again after so much time, especially being well-dressed. During dinner, one of those present noticed her attention on her phone and wanted to know if it was an important message. The young woman, a bit awkward, replied that it was nothing relevant and tried to resume the conversation by asking what they were discussing before. During the dinner, one of the professors mentioned that he had already commented a few times to assistant Sabrina about Professor Hilk. This professor was responsible for supervising both Adam and Sabrina. Then, Radova, a renowned Korean painter, praised the work she presented at the exhibition. He recognized that her painting, Horizon, had stood out a lot, in addition to considering the other works excellent as well. Sabrina, surprised, thought thought to herself that she was receiving direct feedback from a famous artist, which left her visibly impacted. Huck commented that among all the works in the exhibition, hers had been his favorite. The young woman thanked him, stating the compliments were too kind. Then, Hilk declared that he would like to invite her to his next exhibition, asking what she thought of the idea. Still emotional, Sabrina replied that she would be honored and could hardly believe Professor Hilk had recognized the value of her work. One of the professors commented, laughing, that the environment had great energy, and said the two present there matched very well and that the connection between them seemed significant. Shortly after, he suggested they take advantage of the exhibition excuse to go out together on a date. The unexpected remark caused shock in the young woman, who was left without a reaction, internally questioning if the professor had gone crazy. Adam was recognized as a master of art, someone who brought light to a new world through painting. He was considered a symbol of Korean creativity, a living legend with international fame, and admired as a true artistic genius. Sabrina, remembering her first experience before Adam's works, clearly recalled the moment she became completely fascinated. Upon seeing those paintings, a deep desire arose to paint that way. It was because of him that she decided to enter that university. Because of him, she chose to follow the path of art. The young woman reflected that she had walked that path moved by deep admiration for Adam. However, thinking better of it, she regretted not knowing his true personality from the start. If she had known, she might have rethought her decisions. Meanwhile, Adam smiled with a glass in hand. He made comments about assistant Sabrina's appearance, saying he hadn't noticed before how beautiful she was. He questioned if she had made more of an effort that day, insinuating that perhaps she wanted to impress someone. He further suggested that upon learning of Professor Hilk's presence, she seemed particularly excited and hinted she might have dressed up especially for him. In a joking tone, he mentioned she had already said her ideal type was a strong and virile man, asking if that didn't describe Professor Hilk exactly. Sabrina, still smiling in a restrained way, commented that Hilk was someone very distinct for someone like her. But inside, she seriously questioned Adam's behavior, wondering if he was losing his mind. Hilk spoke up, reprimanding Adam elegantly by saying one must be more careful when speaking to a young lady. Sabrina thought, relieved, that this was indeed the proper response, hoping the professor could finally set limits for his inconvenient colleague. The man showed concern, asking if Sabrina had been startled or felt uncomfortable. She replied calmly that she was fine, and added that she considered him an admirable person. He thanked her for the compliment, and, taking the opportunity, commented that if she ever desired guidance from him, he would be willing to set aside exclusive time for the two of them. Then, he questioned the young woman about what she thought of the idea, touching her hand gently and wanting to know if she would be interested in this proposal. Her expression remained serene, but internally the young woman was in shock, wondering if that man had gone crazy too. Even so, she kept her composure, masking her shock with a nervous laugh and a vague comment, showing surprise at the situation. Sabrina thanked him for the kindness shown, trying to stay calm, although her interior seethed with discomfort. She wondered what she should do, if she should just get up and leave, or if there was a more elegant way to get out of that situation. For a brief moment, she considered what would happen if she followed her instincts. The image that arose in her mind was extreme. She saw herself driving a knife into the artist Hilk's hand. Then, she imagined herself as a scandal headline, an art college assistant involved in a stabbing case. However, she remembered she was still just an intern and concluded the best thing would be to hang in there. The man asked if she had learned art only from Adam. Sabrina replied yes, mentioning she had started late. He commented that he already suspected that and stated that, if that were the case, perhaps this was her first moment learning directly from him. The young woman's expression hardened. Internally, she questioned what that man was really saying, suspecting his words held an implicit and unpleasant meaning. Then the man moved his hand closer, touching hers with forced gentleness, and said he would love for her to visit his studio someday, stating he could teach her many things. The movement of his hand made her shiver. Sabrina found it repulsive. Until then, she had only maintained a polite smile, but at that moment, the situation became unbearable. She wondered internally if she really needed to keep listening to that type of insinuation, and decided she would deal with the consequences later. In that instant, she believed she needed to make that guy shut his mouth. So she moved her hand toward the cutlery on the table. It was then that a new voice emerged, cutting through the tense atmosphere. It was Derek, who asked for permission and asked if the professors present were Adam and Hilk. Recognizing that voice, Sabrina reacted in shock, questioning herself if it was really who she imagined. He approached in a polite manner, but Professor Adam mistook him for a potential fan, explaining he didn't have time at the moment since he was in the middle of a meal with acquaintances. Meanwhile, visibly disconcerted, Sabrina wondered why he was there. Derek replied that he was very sorry for interrupting the dinner, but he really wanted to greet a friend and said he thought his uncle would be delighted to see her. Confused by the situation, Sabrina wondered what he had in mind, unable to understand his true intention. Adam asked who that uncle was and doubted it was anyone close, judging only by Derek's appearance. Shortly after, Adam was smiling nervously, commenting enthusiastically that he didn't expect to find President Lee and his nephew in that kind of place. He laughed excitedly, considering it a great coincidence. Derek's uncle, raising his glass, agreed, saying it was truly incredible. The man explained he had only gone out to dinner with his nephew, but upon hearing so many comments about Adam, he decided to show up and added that, since his nephew's friend seemed close to Adam, he thought there would be no problem joining the group. Meanwhile, Sabrina poked Derek's arm and questioned what he was thinking. The young man calmly replied that the elders were speaking, signaling with a gesture for her to keep quiet, which left her even more disconcerted. Then, Professor Adam wanted to know who exactly the nephew's friend was that he had referred to. Derek replied naturally, pointing to the young woman beside him. He then completed with a provocative smile, stating that Sabrina was Professor Adam's most esteemed student and that she was his friend. The two professors managed a crooked smile, and then Hilk commented in a mocking tone that the two young people seemed quite close. He added that he never would have imagined someone as discreet as Assistant Sabrina could cultivate a friendship of that type, observing further that there was a surprisingly vivid and striking presence in him. The young man of intense expression, with visible tattoos on his arm, heard the observations without showing discomfort. With a slight smile, he admitted he really might look like a delinquent, although that didn't bother him. Beside him, Sabrina thought he said whatever he wanted without caring about the reactions. At that moment, Derek's uncle intervened, revealing that despite his playful appearance, Derek was a true talent in the field of architecture. At a certain point, Derek had suddenly disappeared. Only later was it discovered he had gone to Germany on a short-term exchange program. There, he had worked on the architectural design of a state university library, a feat that evidenced his skill. Sabrina finally understood what had happened during all that time. The two had completely lost contact since the end of high school. Since then, she had no idea how he was. Derek stated he hadn't done everything alone and that he was lucky to join a good team. His uncle laughed, telling him not to be so modest. Meanwhile, Professor Adam commented, impressed, asking if that meant Derek would run President Lee's company in the future. Although it was uncomfortable to say that in front of his uncle, Derek stated he would prefer to work at Sabrina's father's company, leaving her shocked at the sudden mention of her name. She looked at Derek and tried to ask what he was doing, but cut her words short upon feeling his hand over hers. Professor Adam asked what Sabrina's father did. Derek was surprised he didn't know. Even after a year of working together, the professor commented she had never mentioned her family. Holding her hand, Derek said everyone must have heard of him at least once. Sabrina's father was none other than the president of HS Cement. The two guest professors were left jaw-dropped by the revelation, dropping their glasses upon hearing the name HS. Stunned, they asked why she had never mentioned someone so important. Sabrina smiled nervously, saying she didn't think it was important. In fact, it was exactly because of that type of exaggerated reaction that she avoided bringing up the subject. Derek apologized, asking if he hadn't said too much, and commented that her father was probably very protective. Meanwhile, Sabrina wondered if he wasn't just faking all of that. Because of her father's overprotection, Derek said she must be exhausted, since her father watched her all the time at work, making sure nothing happened. Meanwhile, the professors were worried, imagining absurd situations like being tied up or dragged away by security guards. Then Derek stated that, being her childhood friend, perhaps he should get in touch with her father soon. The professors, breaking into a cold sweat, tried to change the subject and suggested it might be better to start eating. Later, the two walked side by side. She asked if he had overheard the conversation, to which Derek replied that since she was talking, of course he heard. In a tone of disapproval, Sabrina stated he had gone too far with the provocations and explained he was arguing with the professors like a child. In response, Derek said she had no charm. Sabrina was confused and wanted to know why they were talking about charm. Suddenly, turning to face her, Derek replied that instead of scolding him, she should thank him. Approaching her, he asked if she wasn't happy he helped and reinforced that she had felt relief seeing him appear. Sabrina turned her face, noticing how close he was, and admitted she maybe felt just a little relief. With a provocative look, he suggested she compensate him for that. She wanted to know how. He leaned in and touched his lips gently to her ear, leaving her surprised and completely without a reaction as he spoke. Shortly after, Sabrina asked if he was serious. Derek laughed and wanted to know if she was going to pay the debt with that mischievous tone that left her even more confused. Totally flushed and dizzy with embarrassment, Sabrina said he left many clues as to how she could return the favor, but asked if she really had to pay him back like that. Suddenly, she shouted that just because they were sleeping together didn't mean she knew how to do that. Derek panicked and asked her to speak lower. As night fell, the two went to the hotel, where Sabrina would compensate Derek for helping her. However, inside the room, the atmosphere was tense when Derek discovered something he didn't expect. He, with wide eyes, asked if she was really telling the truth. Sabrina questioned why she would lie about something like that. Then, Derek threw himself onto the bed, complaining dramatically of a pain and asking them to call a doctor, while Sabrina asked if that was really a reason for so much sadness. A few seconds before, Sabrina had told him she was on her menstrual period, making it clear nothing would happen between them that night. Amidst the silence that followed, he murmured that it had already been a while since the two of them had seen each other, and he was so excited. Sabrina remained still for a few moments, but soon began to reflect on another way to compensate him. When she reached her conclusion, she called him, stating she would do a special service for him that day. Then she discreetly lowered the neckline of her blouse, which left Derek visibly enthusiastic. At another moment, after the shower, Sabrina emerged with her body wrapped in a towel while Derek praised her enthusiastically, mentioning how smart she was, leaving her without quite understanding the reason for the comment. Lying on the bed, Derek said that for someone inexperienced she had done surprisingly well, and added that perhaps she was born with an addictive body. When he asked in a joking tone what they would do about that, Sabrina questioned what kind of nonsense he was saying now, trying to maintain her composure. Derek commented that she had been asking for that frequently lately and questioned if by any chance she had started to like doing that. Embarrassed, she blushed and avoided looking directly, thinking to herself that, in fact, doing that with him was too good. Suddenly, while Sabrina finished drying her hair, Derek approached her, pulling her closer with a suggestive smile. Shortly after, he tilted her head with his hands and looked her in the eyes, saying he was addicted to her and that she was bolder than he thought. With her face completely flushed and her heart racing, Sabrina looked away, trying to contain the agitation while Derek observed her closely. Then, he approached and told her to stay quiet, as he was going to dry her hair. The girl tried to refuse, stating she could dry her own hair, but he interrupted her confidently, saying he had special techniques. Soon, he began working with the dryer and the brush, whistling quietly. She stayed silent, not knowing what to think of the situation. Calmly, Derek sprayed something in her hair naturally, while she remained still without a reaction. She then commented, half surprised, that he seemed to have skill. He just laughed, saying he had already warned her he was good and asked her to trust him once in a while. Confused, Sabrina wondered how long he must have practiced to get so good at that, and immediately thought of how many other women he had already done that kind of thing to. Meanwhile, Derek continued to delicately care for her hair. His hand brushed lightly against the young woman's skin, making her shiver at the subtle gesture. Sabrina was visibly embarrassed, while he behind her enveloped her with his body, getting close enough to cause goosebumps on her skin. Amidst the confusion of emotions, she asked him if he intended to keep doing that. The young man feigned not understanding, questioning what she meant by that, adopting a posture of innocence. But she insisted it was irritating, that he acted as if he were superior, leading her to believe something only to leave her confused later. While he ran his fingers through her hair, Sabrina commented that he did all sorts of seductive things, and then acted as if nothing had happened, trying to come out on top as if he were the only one winning. Faced with the accusation, Derek asked if he really did that. With a mocking smile on her lips, she confirmed without hesitation, but stated that this time the victory had been hers. Confused, he stared at her, asking for explanations. She stood up with a victorious expression, as if she were celebrating a feat. The girl stated with confidence and a glint in her eyes that shortly before he had begged, reminding him that he asked in so many words, even saying please. She stated she had clearly heard what he said, but Derek feigned not remembering. Sabrina, with a mischievous smile, insisted in an excited way that he did remember, mentioning what happened in the bathroom earlier. She then celebrated by jumping on the bed and saying she had won. He laughed softly and admitted defeat. Derek observed her with affection, intimately recognizing that he could never completely defeat her. Lying on the bed, Sabrina stared in silence, and at that instant her thoughts echoed in her mind like a whisper. She wanted to have him there with her, she wanted him to continue by her side, and above all, she wanted him to let her win always. A few days later, the young woman informed him by phone that she would be busy preparing for an exhibition, and that, because of this, she wouldn't be able to meet Derek for a while. On the other end of the line, he only stated that he understood and wished her to dedicate herself to work. He commented that if she was busy, she should move forward. That dry response made her hesitate. The girl pulled the phone away and reflected, frustrated, thinking his reaction had been too cold. Sabrina was trying to act differently this time, giving advance notice, but receiving no emotional response left her with the impression she was the only one who cared. While staring at the phone, she imagined Derek would complain about her continuing to avoid his calls and for always being busy. Although she didn't exactly want that kind of explosive reaction, she thought it would have been good if he had at least tried to stop her from going. Confused by her own feelings, Sabrina brushed the thoughts aside and tried to rationalize, scolding herself for thinking that way. She remembered he also had his life and other people to meet. She herself had her chores and therefore decided it was better to stop worrying about it. Later, carrying coffee cups, the girl thought the professor would be annoyed if the drink got cold, so she needed to hurry. Meanwhile, a young woman with pink hair passed beside Sabrina talking on her cell phone, replying that she was at the university and wanted to know the reason for the call. Sabrina recognized that girl and looked at her with curiosity. In the next instant, she heard the young woman on the phone state she was going to meet Derek. The revelation caused an unexpected reaction in Sabrina, who froze for a moment, trying to process what she just heard. Shortly after, Sabrina hid behind a column, discreetly observing the pink-haired girl enter the university building. Her heart beat fast, internally questioning her own actions. Her body had reacted even before her mind understood what it was doing. Sabrina only remembered hearing the girl state she would resolve a situation with Derek. And being surprised by those words, she couldn't simply ignore them. Taken by an impulse, she began to watch her closely, questioning where she would be going and what exactly that supposed resolution meant. She didn't quite understand the relationship between the two, but an uneasiness began to grow in her chest, as she had already seen that girl before beside Derek. Seeing the girl turn a corner, Sabrina deduced she was heading toward the club's central room. Quickening her pace, she hurried through the corridors until she reached the door. She stopped for a moment. The room before her was all too familiar, and the certainty hit her hard. It was exactly the same place the two of them were that day. Inside the room, she spotted the pink-haired girl beside Derek, which only confirmed her suspicions. Derek then questioned the girl named Helena about the reason for calling him there, asking her to be direct. Helena replied that she knew he wouldn't have any more classes that day and suggested he relax a bit, adding that lately the two of them had hardly seen each other. The girl, with a suggestive smile, sat on one of the desks and asked the young man if they couldn't do something for old time's sake. She approached even closer, insinuating she wouldn't mind doing it right there. Derek, however, showed coldness and questioned with a serious tone if she had called him just to say that kind of nonsense. Without leaving room for a reply, he stated he was leaving and asked her not to seek him out anymore for matters like that. Faced with the rejection, Helena felt humiliated and thought he had certainly already found another girl besides her. Even so, she grabbed him by the arm, insisting he not be so cold. She declared to herself that on that day she needed to make Derek hers, even if just for a moment. Helena hugged Derek from behind, saying it would be better for him too, as he would have someone capable of taking care of his desires. On the other side of the door, Sabrina, who was watching the scene in secret, was in shock hearing that. The young man, visibly uncomfortable, reacted with indignation and pushed away from her with force, questioning if she had lost her mind for saying that kind of senseless thing. Suddenly, they heard a noise from outside, and both he and the girl looked surprised at the door. Outside, Sabrina trembled while holding the coffee cups she brought in her hands, murmuring that she had let everything fall because of the fright. In her thoughts, she lamented having lost her strength before what she just witnessed. Derek ordered Helena to remain silent. She recoiled, startled at the young man's firmness as he approached the door. Sabrina, still hidden, heard everything with apprehension and became worried, thinking that if she stayed behind the door, he would find her. Derek approached the door and stayed silent for a moment. Behind him, Helena asked quietly if there was someone nearby. He observed the corridor and replied no. He guaranteed there was no one there. Derek warned her to be careful, stating he didn't care what she had been saying, but demanded she not involve him. She nodded tensely, saying she understood. Helena stated she also didn't want to be in that situation, but hinted it was he who forced her hand. After her words, he tried to walk away without looking back. However, before he departed, Helena stopped him with a question. She wanted to know if by any chance he was dating. After delivering the coffee to the professor, Sabrina went to the bathroom and in silence began to wash the sleeve of her blouse. In her thoughts, the memory of the conversation she witnessed between Derek and that girl still left her uneasy. In silence, she reflected that, although she wasn't sure if the two were already together, it was evident there was something between them, a connection that was perhaps more lasting and profound than anything she herself had ever lived with him. Sabrina felt stupid for having let herself be carried away, as if she had been a complete idiot, and witnessing Derek's romantic dilemmas only deepened the void she felt. She questioned if she had been just someone disposable, without real value to him. She thought that in the end it didn't matter if she was considered a friend or just one more casual partner. It all ended the same way. But even so, the more Sabrina thought about the situation, the more indignation accumulated. With anger, she questioned how he could lie with her and at the same time act in a seductive way with another. The irritation overflowed, and the frustration manifested in brusque gestures while she washed her hands in the sink with force, finding such lack of consideration inconceivable. Drying her hands, she tried to reorganize her own thoughts. She was determined to resolve that once and for all, regardless of the outcome. Determined, she grabbed her phone and began to type quickly. She decided she would have a conversation with him that same day. She would clarify everything for better or worse. Later, Sabrina waited alone in a cafeteria with 2 drinks on the table. Suddenly, Derek approached and asked if she was sick, finding the expression on her face strange. While sitting down, he commented it was unexpected, since she had said she wouldn't be free that day. He explained he ran there thinking something had happened, and with a smile complained about the heat. Sabrina, maintaining her calm, offered the drink she had already ordered for Derek beforehand, and he praised her initiative. While Derek drank quietly, he asked why she was taking so long to say what she wanted. Embarrassed and flushed, the girl finally built up the courage and asked Derek if he had a girlfriend. The young man was surprised by her question and wanted to confirm if she was serious. He complained intrigued, commenting that lately everyone was asking if he had a girlfriend. Sabrina insisted, saying she wanted a clear answer. He asked why she wanted to know, and she, worked up, stated that if he had someone, he should have told her before. She explained that from the start, that was the agreement. She didn't want to be seen as someone involved with a committed man, and confessed she almost felt cheated for having trusted him. She further said that even if it wasn't a serious relationship and was just something physical, that would still be a problem. If he already had another partner, she wouldn't have gotten involved with him. Overcome by emotion, Sabrina shouted, accusing him of perhaps being a man obsessed with women, unable to satisfy himself with only one. The room went silent, and the others in the cafe observed the scene. The young man sighed tiredly and asked if she had already said everything she wanted. The girl, irritated, noted that he reacted as if she were just a nuisance, without ever directly answering her questions. She then stated that if he didn't intend to change, there was no reason for them to continue together. Reflecting, Sabrina recognized that it couldn't last long. She said he just needed a woman to pass the time while she needed someone to forget a romantic disappointment. She concluded that their interests had coincided for a time, but that, deep down, they were never anything special. Sabrina realized the words she had said and thought she hadn't wanted to express herself that way. She felt she couldn't even look him in the eyes, but upon staring at Derek, she noticed his gaze seemed too cold, which left her even more shaken. Sabrina looked away quickly, reflecting that she wouldn't allow him to leave her confused or play with her feelings anymore. While reflecting on the situation, Derek noticed the coffee-stained blouse sleeve and then realized she had probably overheard the conversation with Helena. The two remained in silence, seated at the cafe table. The atmosphere was so heavy that Sabrina couldn't even face Derek. Suddenly, he stood up from the table, surprising the young woman, and told her to stand up as well if she had already finished her coffee. She stayed silent, watching him walk away, and ended up going along with him. Soon they were inside the car, side by side, but the atmosphere remained heavy. During the journey, she thought in silence why he didn't say anything. Suddenly, Derek broke the silence, calling her by name, and then asked what she thought they really were. Sabrina was left without an answer, not knowing how to face that direct question. Hearing Derek's question about what they really were, she began to recall past moments with him. She thought of the nights they were together, the times he enveloped her with his intense presence. Reflecting, she admitted to herself that despite the confusion, she had received from him a type of comfort that helped her endure her pain. With a trembling voice, she confessed she was grateful because she had found in him a relief in the midst of loneliness. Derek, however, reacted with coldness, repeating the word comfort ironically. Then, he asked if she meant the type of comfort given with the body. The girl was surprised and thought he was being sarcastic. Still, she recognized she had also been harsh in her own words before, so she couldn't complain. Sabrina, nervous, suggested changing the subject, so she asked where he was going at that moment. He replied provocatively, saying he was going to seek comfort with her body. Irritated, she refused immediately, stating she didn't want to get involved with him in that mood. She added that if that was all he wanted, then he should stop the car because she would get out right there. Hearing her words, Derek shot her a quick look before stepping hard on the brake, making the car stop abruptly. In a moment of tension, she believed he was accelerating too much, but realized it was just her impression. With her heart racing, she heard when he called her by name and turned her face to face him. With a firm gaze loaded with emotion, he confessed that at that moment he really wanted comfort from her, because he was deeply hurt. Sabrina was surprised by Derek's confession, without immediately understanding what he meant. Derek, staring at the road, stated he didn't have any girlfriend, that he wasn't seeing other girls, and that he also didn't seek casual encounters just for desires. Then, he clearly said she was the only person he had been seeing lately. Those words left her without a reaction, her heart racing and her face flushed, overtaken by the intensity of what she just heard. And that's all for today. If you like the work and want a continuation, let me know in the comments by writing "childhood friend." Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to follow the new parts.